Carrie Damiano is the creator, writer, and host of her own web series about travel, style, and shopping. She's known as Miss World Traveler, and she's been to over 130 countries and has visited all 50 states. Carrie has a wealth of information on how to embrace traveling and to enjoy life. You can reach Carrie at MissWorldTraveler.com. She's also on YouTube.
Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Earrings Off. We want to invite you to subscribe, rate, and leave us a review. You can find us on Facebook at Earrings Off Podcast and on Instagram at The Earrings Off Podcast.
Welcome to Earrings Off. I'm Lou.
And I'm Teresa.
Okay, we have with us today Carrie Damiano. And Carrie, welcome to Earrings Off.
I'm so excited to be here. I was intrigued by the name.
Well, I tell you, it is unfortunate. Our audience, this is audio only. They can't see you because you put me and Teresa to shame today. You're all glammed up, and we are going to have to do a better job when guests come on. So,
I'm big into earrings, and I make all my own earrings.
I saw that you do that.
Yes.
I saw that. Yeah. That is you. I tell you, I'm interested in the conversation because you have had such an interesting life thus far. What I get from reading about you, Carrie, is that you are really living life to the fullest, and I love that for you.
Well, this is the life that God dealt me. I never married and never had children.
Yeah.
So I had a different life than, when you're young, you have this plan. I'm going to, get married at 24 and be done having kids at 30. And I'm going to, you have the plan, and the plan didn't work. 30 came and went, and here we are. Right?
Yeah.
So I've just really tried to fill my life with things I'm passionate about.
Well, I tell you what, you are doing a great job. So let's just talk a minute. So, Carrie, how did Miss World Traveler, the web series, come to be?
That was about over 20 years in the making, because it's a bit of a synopsis of all my life experience and all the things that I'm interested in doing. Mm-hmm. But let me go back to kind of the beginning. Always knew something big was coming. You ever had that feeling where you just know something's coming, but you can't put your fingers on what it is?
Carrie, I'm telling you the truth. I have that. I do experience that. Yeah.
Okay. Well, then hopefully my story will inspire you, because as I said, it was over years that I waited, and as each new thing would come along, I left, I'll call it corporate America. It wasn't really, it was more like small business, but to start my own business in 2000. And as each new thing that I tried came along, I'm like, is this it? Is this the big thing?
Right.
And it was like, no, but this is for right now. And I just kept sort of getting that same message over and over until 2022. And then it was like the scales were removed off my eyes, and I could see Ms. World Traveler and what it was supposed to be. And then as I looked back over those 20 odd years, all of the things that I had done were pieces I needed to go get, like pieces of the puzzle that I needed to put everything together. I needed certain kinds of experience, and technology had to be in the right place, and my processes had to be in the right place. And all of these things had to line up in order for me to do this. So here we are, and it's the big thing. And I'm so excited. I wake up every day excited about it. Never worked harder in my whole life, but there's such great joy in it.
Yeah.
Wow. I tell you, I love hearing that, particularly, Carrie, when you say you felt like it was coming, and it was like, is it? But everything was lining up for, your web series. Isn't that amazing? And when you look back, you can connect the dots. Wow.
That's right. And isn't that the way with life, though? I mean, all of us, as we get older, we look back and we think, oh, that's why I had to go through that
Right.
experience. And oh,
Yeah.
that's why that happened. When we're going through it, you almost
Yeah.
like can't see what's happening. But when you're out of it, then you can.
Well, I tell you what, Miss World Traveler is an understatement.
I
How
know, right?
how is it possible to travel to more than 130 plus countries and counting in
Right.
all 50 states?
Mhm.
How is that
Well,
possible?
because I didn't do it all at one time.
Yeah, yeah.
This
Yeah,
is years worth. I started traveling with my mom. The very first trip
I
that
saw that.
she took me overseas was as a college graduation
Yeah,
present. It was in
yeah.
the 80s. So I really have been doing this for a long time. And that sense of adventure just sort of caught me. And that's what I wanted to save my money and do in my spare time when I had time off work, that I wanted to go places. I wanted to see things. So it's been, a literal journey.
Wow,
Nice.
wow. Hmm. So, but Terry, tell us then, so what do you love so about traveling to all these different places?
Well, there's a couple things. One is I feel like it's my continuing education. I've always learned something new, and I've always loved history. And for me, when I go places, history comes alive,
Hmm.
and you can see it, you can touch it, you can feel it, as opposed to reading it in a book where that's
Right,
interesting, but you
right,
read it and then you don't remember it.
right.
When you go somewhere, now it has come alive. It's imprinted on you and you can remember it. Well, at least I used to be able to.
Yeah,
After
yeah,
menopause, you can't remember anything.
yeah, yeah. I hear
But
you.
that's a whole nother story.
Yeah, that's another episode, Gary.
That's right.
Yeah, yeah.
So the fact that it's continuing education, that's one of the things I love. Another thing that I love is it challenges me to figure things out, to be independent, to figure out where I'm going, what I'm doing, how much money I can spend, sort of all of those pieces. And I think women sometimes those are the things that make them fearful of travel.
Right,
Well,
yeah.
how do you figure it all out? How do you know where you're going? And what's your budget? And some of these things that get them sort of paralyzed with trying to figure it out. But I think that once you start doing that, you gain confidence
Right. I agree.
and independence. And then you're like, okay, I can do this. And
Yeah.
and it gets easier as you go.
Well, I tell you, what you're saying just resonates with me, particularly because just last week I was in Massachusetts and I got a chance to tour the Kennedy Museum. And I got to, see all the photos from the family, the Kennedy compound, and talk to a lot of people in the area about their love for the Kennedys. And you're right, just being in the area, even though you read about it in the history books, but I got such a better feel for the Kennedy family and all that they've endured. And there were pictures of John and Caroline on the wall, and all of the siblings and the matriarch and patriarch. It was just so very touching, and the people of Boston loved that family. And so you're right that reading about it is one thing, watching it, but it comes alive when you're
Yes.
there. So yeah, I can appreciate that.
And
Yeah.
that's what I was going to say. But I was going to say that Lou has said this many, many times before, that you do learn so much
You
when
do?
you actually travel. And she's actually on this podcast encouraged,
Yeah.
people to explore in that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
So,
very,
can you just talk about, I mean, just listening to you talk about travel is like it's almost like giving me chills because I can just feel the passion, right? I want to hear about one of your favorite trips.
Well, I have different favorites for different reasons,
uh-huh.
Yeah.
but just last year I got to check off a bucket list item. And
Okay.
so that's just one of my favorite things to talk about. been to Paris a number of times,
Yeah,
but
yeah, yeah.
I just always sort of had this dream of living there. And it was, 3 to 6 months was the dream. I just couldn't get away that long, but I was able to carve out 5 weeks. And so I
Wow.
went and I rented an apartment. I shopped in the grocery stores, made my own meals, tried to really live like a local.
Yeah.
And so I saw a completely different side of it than I had seen before because I wasn't a tourist. And when you're a tourist, you have a short amount of time. And so you're 100 miles an hour. You're trying to see everything you can see and checking things off that I
Yeah.
powered, you're checking all these things off. And so this was a trip where I could just relax and I had the luxury of time. We were
Yeah.
there working. I was
Yeah.
working on Ms. World Traveler, so I had something to do every day. But just that sense of not being in a hurry, and
Yeah.
that was really
Yeah.
what really stuck with me as something wonderful about the trip.
That's a
Awesome.
wonderful bucket list item. That's something because yesterday I was actually with a friend. She's from France. As a matter of fact, her husband is there now. And we were watching a movie and certain scenes, she's from France. I could say, yeah, I saw that when I was there. And we could connect that way. And because that's her home place, her home country. So it's just interesting that at least I could connect with her on that level that, yeah, I went there and I experienced that. So, Carrie, talk to us about what advice do you have for single women like yourself about traveling alone? Because you referenced earlier women have concerns about how do you actually do it and the budget, but my thing with that has always been safety, you know? So can you talk to us a little bit about that?
Well, I think that there are a lot of fears we
Mm,
don't even know we have. And because I hear this from women a lot, well, aren't you afraid? Aren't you afraid it's not safe? Aren't you afraid that when you get there, you're not going to be able to speak the language and you won't know where to go and what to do? So it's those fears that hold us. And I think you have to address what your specific thing is. So you said your fear was safety. Someone else's might be it costs too much. Somebody else's might be like to do things alone, whatever it is. And then figure out what you can do specifically to help you get over that fear. So, for example, safety, there's certain safeguards that you can do. They have really cool, interesting things you can do to safeguard your money and your
mhm.
passport, and places that you can go that are considered safe. Their places are not considered safe. And when I go to a place that maybe isn't particularly safe for single women, I always hire a private guide.
Okay.
And
Hmm.
I know that's a little bit more expensive to do
Yeah, but
that,
it's worth it
but
totally.
what is my
Yeah.
safety worth? And
Right.
then you aren't accidentally going into areas that were not that great. And somebody's go no, don't go there and go
Right.
here instead. And you're also working with someone who knows the language and knows how to get around. So
Yeah.
for me, that's kind of a safety thing that I do when I am a little bit concerned about it.
Right. Okay. That's great advice. And as a matter of fact, I was saying to my friend, she said, well, how did you, was it okay when you went to France? You were able to communicate because you don't speak French. I said, actually, I did okay. A lot of people speak English, and now there are all of these apps. I've had to adjust. My daughter-in-law is from Thailand.
Mhm.
So for me to speak to her and her family members, I've had to be very creative. And her mom and I, we talk quite a bit. And we just have to be flexible with it.
So, what's this notion of dating yourself? How do you date yourself?
And remember, this is a G-rated show, Carrie.
I don't specifically date myself, meaning taking myself out to special things. But I feel like when I travel, that is my time to sow into me. It's what
Mhm.
I want to do, when I want to go, what I'm going to do when
Right,
I get there, where I want to eat. As you know, when you travel with someone or when you're with a family, you have more personal opinions that you need to
right,
take into
right.
consideration. And sometimes that can be a challenge, right?
Mhm,
Where do you
mhm.
want to go? I don't know. Where do you want to go? And there's this thing. And so for me, that's how I treat myself to
Right,
something that's just for me, just to make
right,
me feel good and fill my cup with joy.
right.
Nice.
Well, actually, I think it was in this past Sunday's New York Times. There was an article. about there's been a boom in the travel industry about people traveling solo. And they
Okay.
do say, rather than it being like the honeymoon and the romantic getaway, people are booking trips where they're traveling solo. They are treating themselves, and that's what they're doing. So that's sort of what you're describing, that now there's a big push for people to not hold back until they have someone to go with them. If you want to do it, treat yourself to it. I think it was just in this past Sunday's New York Times. That's a big thing now.
When you think about it, trying to find a travel partner is a little bit like trying to find a life partner.
Yeah, yeah,
There are a lot of things that can go wrong. If you have very different travel styles, maybe one person is a very early morning person and
right,
another one is a very late night person, you're going to want to do things at the
right,
same time. Or
right,
maybe somebody loves to just lay on the beach and another person is go 100 miles an hour. Again, you're not really going to mesh when
right,
you try and travel together.
yeah,
So there is that nice element if you do decide to go alone that
right.
it could just be all about me.
Right,
I
right.
love it.
And
I love
yeah,
it.
and sometimes there are different budgets, because I tell
That's
my when
another
I
big factor.
yeah, because when I travel with friends, I tell them, listen, I can penny pinch at home. I do all of that every day so that when I get a chance to travel, I'm trying to enjoy myself. And that's
Yes,
what all of the planning and sacrificing was for.
that's
So,
right.
yeah, yeah. So, Carrie, tell us about your future travel plans.
Hmm. Well, for Ms. World Traveler, we have two doubles coming up. We're going to be in Charleston, South
Mhm.
Carolina, and Savannah, Georgia, coming up here in October. We just got back from Toronto last week. And then after that, we have another double to Pensacola, Florida,
Florida?
and Mobile, Alabama. So that will actually take us through the end of the year. But already this year we spent a month in Rome.
Whoa.
We were in Miami, New Orleans, uh, Buenos Aires, and Rio de Janeiro, Chicago, Nashville. So we've been kind of all
Okay.
over.
Okay, well, just so you know, I'm sorry, but I'm very jealous. Um, very
Yeah.
jealous. You are living the life I would love to live. I love to travel. I just do. So,
Yeah.
wow,
That
that's
is
fascinating stuff.
that is
Yeah,
amazing.
yeah. But, I'm not bitter. I'm happy for you. So enjoy.
Well, just so you know, these are work trips.
Yeah,
Yeah.
She
Quote
said it with a
unquote.
wink. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, quote unquote.
Wow, that's pretty good.
So
So,
one of the things about traveling as a woman, right? Well, anybody. I mean, it's the whole packing thing. So have you
Mhm.
mastered packing only the essentials, or how is that for you? How is your packing? How are your packing skills?
I, my packing skills are great for me. And that's different. It's different for everyone. I had a friend who just was gone for a couple of months in Europe, and she took a carry-on and a backpack.
Is that
And
right?
and I kind of laughed at that because then I showed her the picture of the five huge oversized pieces, which I had to pay
yeah,
overweight on
yeah,
to go to Rome for 4 weeks. So
That is hilarious.
yeah.
That is
yeah,
hilarious.
it was a little embarrassing too.
Yeah.
But part of it is for me, I've got quite specific. The more you do it, and frankly, the older you get, the more specific you are about your likes and dislikes. So, for
Right.
example, I travel with my own dish and my own silverware and my own salt. Because
Mhm.
that way, if I want to just get food, I've been out walking all day long and, I'm tired. I don't need to go out to a fancy dinner. It's just me. I typically want to pick something up and take it back to my room, my feet up and eat in my room. So that way I am prepared to,
Yeah,
to do that. So that's just an example, you know, that you get your own items and what's important to you to take on
Hmm.
your trip.
Hmm.
Uh, a little tip is I do like to roll things, and I can quite a bit in a small space by rolling things, but I take a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I
Wow.
love that you are doing things that make you happy. I love that
Well,
about what you're
isn't
doing.
that what you have to do in
I
life,
mean,
So
really?
true.
it is what we should be doing, but
Yeah.
it's
We
really
should be
kind of
doing.
hard for some of us.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know?
Yeah. Well, I tell you, just looking at you, you can tell that it agrees with you. So,
Yes,
kudos to
absolutely.
Yeah.
you. So, those are all of the questions that we have for you today. Do you have anything you want to share with our audience,
Sure.
as a parting message,
Sure.
Sherry?
Maybe a couple things, because I'll just piggyback on what you just said, that I think if you
Wait a
do
minute.
the things that you're passionate about, you will wake up every morning energized and excited about life. And that gives you sort of a youthful exuberance
Hmm.
of for whatever it is you're doing. Maybe it's photography or horseback riding or crafting or whatever it is. That'll keep you young just by being passionate and excited about it. And that fills your life with joy.
Hmm.
The second thing is I like to say this, just it's never too late. It's never too late to start something new, to take up a new a hobby, to start traveling if you haven't before, or if you are traveling, to go further afield and go someplace that you never thought that wasn't on my list, but go anyway. Just do it. It's never too late.
Well, Carrie, thank you so much for coming and speaking to us today here on Earrings Off. It's been a delight. We are excited to share this with our audience. And
Well, another thing is if people want to follow my journeys, which I think they're kind of fun, we have a lot of women's interest kinds of things. You can go to our YouTube channel, which is Ms. World Traveler, Ms. World Traveler. You can also follow us on Instagram, and it's Carrie, Kerry, Ms. World Traveler. So those are a couple ways that you can, follow along and enjoy the ride.
all right, we wish you all the best as you continue on your travels and with your series. Take good care.
Thank you so much.
All right, bye bye.